When Ippo was active, he was an absolute menace that everyone respected. He went toe-to-toe with Date, a man who only lost to the greatest featherweight to ever do it. He became the Japanese champion after a close fight with his iconic rival, Takeshii Sendo, and defended his belt 8 times before moving to the world stage. Everyone thought the immovable object was unbeatable, but due to his mentality and limited skill set, he was ultimately crushed by the second best boxer in the featherweight division, Alfredo Gonzales. Ippo took so much damage throughout the latter half of his career and didn't let himself heal. This led to Ippo becoming much weaker than he was before. He was prone to knockdowns and he lost confidence more often. We saw that when he sparred with Sendo before his fight with Gonzales. He got smoked, and Takamura even asked him if he got weaker. It's clear Ippo has been getting weaker for a while now, and he wasn't at his peak during this saga. So now it begs the question, how strong is Ippo when he was at his prime? We're going to go over his skills during his career and also post-retirement, because it's arguable that he's much stronger during that era. Which version of Ippo is the best? Let's find out. First, we're going to go over Ippo's peak during his boxing career. Ippo started out as a physical powerhouse who needed to slowly accumulate techniques. He is mostly known for the iconic Dempsey roll and evolved it throughout his career. This was his finisher, and slowly became too reliant on it that he even used it when he wasn't supposed to, i.e. when he was at a disadvantage. Ippo's foundation was on closing in on his opponent and putting on the pressure, but the way he did so was by using the peekaboo style to bob and weave punches as he dashes forward. Early on in his career, he learned the gazelle punch to deal with Volkswagen, the prodigy from the Soviet Union. He unknowingly learned the liver blow early on in his career from Coach Kamigawa. He also learned how to pull off a close-range liver blow dubbed the 10-centimeter punch. This is extremely powerful when used as the opponent clinches. Ippo was shown to occasionally use the southpaw style, but it wasn't part of his moveset most of the time. Ippo can use the brawling style, but it's not something he normally fancies. He only used it when he was enraged, and it put him in a more disadvantageous position compared to other fighters who can use it really well. A move he hasn't used often but was highly effective in his later matches was the Tornado Jolt versus Jimmy Sisvar, the Thai national champion. And then also versus Malcolm Ghetto, he pulled off the infamous Heartbreak Shot, coined by Eiji Date, the former Japanese national champion. It wasn't perfectly pulled off, but with time, I'm sure he can master it. Ippo's defensive techniques are nothing to scoff at either. With his peekaboo style, head slips, cross blocks, and shoulder blocks are extremely efficient. He's also able to easily go into the turtle guard if need be. Ippo has also shown that he can use the neck spin in his title match versus Sendo. This is something Date showed him in his previous title match, and it was a force to be reckoned with. This is everything Ippo has used throughout his boxing career, and some are not used as often as others, but they're in his repertoire nonetheless. Ippo's mental throughout his career has been like a roller coaster. Having a great mentality is the difference between a great boxer and, the chumps. We know boxers like Takamura, Miyata, Ricardo, and Alfredo are all selfish to their core and will do anything to win their matches. All of them have different approaches, but their drive to win is always the #1 priority. Ippo wanted to win and had an indomitable will, but it always fluctuated whenever the match drives off course ever so slightly. In his title match with Sendo, he shut down and was terrified for 2 rounds in a row. He hid from the beast, unable to do anything to combat the opponent. Against Malcolm Ghetto, he gave up so easily and never tried to think about how he was losing. After Miyata broke his promise with Ippo, he lost all drive to become stronger. He lost the ambition that started it all. What does it feel like to be strong? Ippo saw Alfredo as an unreachable god when the match slowly turned into his favor. Even though the match was closer than he thinks, he still couldn't give it his all mentally. He never bounced back and only wanted to show that Kamigawa's boxing will work on the world stage. He never once stated that he wanted to win. This led him to lose in a tragic way, ironically not staying true to the boxing he was taught. His sloppy wide swing was pristinely countered and he fell to the mat. 1 year later, Ippo's comeback match versus Antonio Guevara was what led to his retirement. In conjunction with his sloppy mental still carrying over from his match with Alfredo, he also knew his body was broken, not giving it enough time to heal. Going into the match, he knew he would lose despite being the much better boxer. He was a glass cannon, and it was proven by how fatal Guevara's mediocre power was able to stand tall versus Ippo, who's known for his ability to take anything that comes his way. He only wanted to show Kamigawa that the new Dempsey roll was here and now. It's obvious that the second Ippo went to the world stage, he was at his weakest, and he only grew weaker as time went on. Miyata backing out of their fated battle made Ippo forget why he loved boxing in the first place. Miyata was his goal, but he mainly started boxing to figure out what it's like to be strong, so he really did forget everything that he learned. His downward spiral led to him crashing and burning. Now comes the question, when was Ippo at his peak? Ippo may have a reputation as the comeback king, but many of his bouts have been one-sided. I'd say during his matches with Sawamura and Karasawa was where his skills and his mentality were by far at their peak. Versus Sawamura was a back-and-forth slugfest, which required Ippo to use everything he had at its maximum potential, so he can take home the win. His adaptability was at its all-time high. His will to win was higher than ever before. His usage of techniques was pristine, and his toughness was exemplified by how much damage he was able to take. On the other hand, versus Karasawa, he pretty much dominated the whole match. Using his 200 IQ brain that he rarely brings out, he was able to slowly corner Karasawa and pretty much control the match from there. Nothing Karasawa did was working. Even though he's a high-level outboxer, he just couldn't keep up with the best infighter in the OPBF region. Before the match with Kojima, Ippo was toyed with. Everything Kojima said was to tilt Ippo, making him madder than he's ever been so he can give it all out in his match. And during his match with Kojima, it was shown to be successful. He was toyed with into his career on the verge of ending. If that counter finished him off, he would be in the hospital, just like Mashiba. He's lucky Takamura told him to think of everyone he has insulted. Man, Kojima would have won if Ippo just didn't have such a good corner. During the Gedo match, he went in cocky. He thought he could figure out a plan during the match and almost lost because of it. You need a good mental if you're going to be high level. This was just the beginning of his accumulated damage. This was just the beginning of the end. A few years have passed since Ippo retired, but he still hasn't been wasting away. Ippo has been improving at an astronomical rate, even though he has no matches to look forward to. This is all due to his supposed love for being a trainer and wanting to get better at doing so. Ippo has vastly increased his fundamentals to a point where multiple characters think he is far better than when he was active. His endurance skyrocketed. This was shown when he was able to keep up with Takamura during his road work while wearing leg weights. Before he retired, Takamura was light years ahead when it came to speed and endurance, but this time, Ippo has surpassed him in that department. This is unreal. Aoki and Kimura noticed that Ippo's sense of distance and rhythm is better than when he was active. He also used the years being retired to work on skills he never considered while being active, like improving his ability to counter, which then led him to learn a highly advanced technique, parry countering. He used this during his spar with the IBF Junior Lightweight World Champion Volk Zangief, who was miles ahead of where he was when they first duked it out. He was also able to catch and deflect Volk's White Fang and Hien, which he couldn't deal with in their official match in the Class A tournament. He managed to master the use of pivoting, and according to Miyata, he can freely transition between offense and defense, vice versa, without needing to create distance. In his spar with Mashiba, who was preparing for a lightweight world title match versus Rosario, he was able to go toe-to-toe with the future challenger. He even debuted his mastery over the southpaw style, which Mashiba's coach exclaimed that if he didn't know who Ippo was, he would have assumed that he was a natural southpaw. Ippo sparred with Sendo right before his match with Ricardo and was able to easily avoid everything that came his way. He even clinched Sendo, and Sendo couldn't believe how sturdy Ippo was as he tried to push him off. This goes to show the training Ippo did made him stronger than ever before. Someone who was always able to trade blows with him was easily manhandled by that very same boxer. Ippo added techniques that vastly improve his immense strength, and if he's able to take them all to the pro ring again, who knows how far he can go. He may very well become strong enough to give Ricardo a run for his money, but this all depends on his drive to become strong. If Ippo does come back to boxing, he'd have to have something drive him more than when he started boxing in the first place. He's adamant on quitting after losing one more time so he can prioritize his health above all else. If you want a more detailed version of what I think Ippo needs to make a comeback with, click the video here. I'd highly recommend it. Ippo's ambition needs to be jump-started not by only himself, but by everyone in his life. He needs to know 100% that he is safe to go back to the ring, and also have the approval of his mother and his friends. Boxing may be a sport where you go in the ring alone, but the training is done by the people around you, and obviously, yourself. They are the ones who help you grow into the incredible person that you've become. Ippo will realize this, and his drive will lead him into a mental state that he hasn't had before. Something he needed so desperately when he can no longer meet Miyata in the ring. If he's able to be anew and abandon his inferiority complex whenever his opponents temporarily gain the upper hand, and also focus on becoming strong, he'll become a force to be reckoned with. It's clear Morikawa is going to bring Ippo back and let him work his way up to challenge Ricardo, but the road to do so is up in the air. Who will he fight? What will he do to become stronger than the Ippo of yesterday? Only time will tell. After going over Ippo's skills and his mentality throughout the series, it's clear which version of Ippo is currently the strongest. The Ippo of today. The Ippo who will return to the ring sometime soon. He just has everything going for him, and then some. His technique is up there with some of the greats. His power is number one in the division. His indomitable will, his drive to become stronger will come back, and his mental when he spars is very solid, honestly. Imagine if he turned that into wanting to win. He'd become a beast none of the other champions can handle. Besides Ricardo, of course. Ippo right now is world champion material. His final rise to the top may be coming sooner than you think.